Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. This episode is part of our Bookseller Lightning Talk series, in which booksellers present short talks on tech tools, organizational strategies, communication methods, or innovations they've made in their stores.
We have Courtney Ulrich Smith talking about subscription programs. And let me get your spotlight on. There you go.
Awesome. First of all, just a caveat. I have 4 dogs. So if you hear various dog noises in the background, please excuse them. They're being rather quiet right now, but I might have just jinxed myself. So a little bit of background on Underbrush. So we actually opened Underbrush in 2020, in the spring of 2020, specifically, and that was a really hard time to open a bookstore. And so we actually launched as a subscription book club. We were virtual based for, the first year and a half. And then we're finally able to open our physical location and move to in-person meetings and all of that. So as a company, we have a history in subscription-based services. And the reason that we feel strongly about subscription-based services for bookstores is there's a variety of things. A little over 10% of our annual sales come from subscription services. And that number is important to us because we view those sales as an addition to our regular in-store foot traffic, downtown area based sales. We ship books across the US. We're located in Arkansas. We have subscription members who are as far away as Seattle, Washington, and have been for a while. And anybody who is in this business knows that, retail growth is pretty stagnant right now. It's growing at about 3%, whereas subscription services are still growing about 18% a year. Particularly subscription box services, which are seeing double their 100 times growth, so double their sales each year. So this is a high growing market, and it's a really easy market, in my opinion, to break into as a bookstore if you understand the underlying technologies that you need. And so I'm going to walk you all through a little bit about the technologies that we use, how we set those up, some of the stats behind our subscription services, and I'm also available to anybody who wants to talk through this. I have a background in technology. My background is in software development, and so I am always down to help folks understand what technologies would work for their businesses if that's a need. So we are a little bit different in that we have 2 online storefronts. We use bookshop.org for our online store, but we also have a small, very curated online selection that we manage ourselves through Shopify. The reason that we've chosen Shopify is because they do have a lot of apps that you can use to run subscriptions. The big one out there is Recharge. I am just going to let you all know that Recharge is ridiculously expensive each month. And so I do not recommend folks. Recharge is great. It's works really well. It's dependable. I do not recommend that folks start with Recharge just because you have to be doing a ton of subscriptions a month to make that monthly recurring charge make sense. We have used Recharge. We've also used a smaller service called Apostle. It's like Appostle. And it is not quite as nice. It doesn't function quite as well in the back end as Recharge did, but the customer interface, which is, in my opinion, the most important part, is almost the same. And it's like $10 a month, where Recharge was like hundreds of dollars a month. So if you're looking into starting subscriptions and you are wanting to use an app, there are also lots of people who use, Stripe for payment processing. I love just the ease of setting up a Shopify storefront, collecting and managing payments through there, and also them being able to integrate directly with apps. So it minimizes the amount of work that you have to do as an owner. I would highly recommend looking into those. If you Google best subscription apps on Shopify, you're going to get 10,000 Google results. So I've tried to do a little bit of the work for you all. So that's how we set up. And then on our website, it has, buy books online as one of our header options, and that takes us directly to our bookshop.org storefront. And so we're able to manage our subscription products on a storefront where people can easily purchase and find us online for those services, but then still aren't having to make sure that all of the photos for all of our books are uploaded, that inventory is correct online, and try to manage both inventory in the store and also on our e-commerce site. We have 2 main subscription offerings, but then a bunch of varieties under each of those. We have our book club subscriptions, which are our flagship Underbrush book club, which is an adult, mostly fiction, genre variety book club. That is the one that we actually started in 2020. We have customers who have been with us every single month since the beginning. We are coming up on our 5-year anniversary. And we have 4 or 5 customers who have literally never missed a month and have been with us for 5 years, which is a lifetime value of around $1,800 for that customer just in subscription purchases, which means a lot to us because they also do come in store and spend in store and join other book clubs and come to other events. But they really started with us as core book club customers or book club subscription customers. We also launched a family version of our book club, which is subscription based, which is a monthly box for middle grade readers that includes questions and activities based on the book choices, and each family gets that box kind of delivered to their house each month. And then we have our response to services like Book of the Month, which is our personalized book subscription box. We have an adult version of that, and we have a teen version of that. And you sign up for the subscription, and then you take a reading quiz, and each month we send you 3 picks, just like the big competitor does, but they are specifically tailored to your current interests, your current tastes, the books that you picked last month, the book that you are interested in, the book that you came into store and talked to us about. But they are very tailored to that specific customer. Once again, we have that adult version, we have that teen middle grade version. And they are all set. All of our subscriptions are set prices. When we think about pricing, we are always sending, a hardcover book is typically what we found people enjoy. So we've set kind of at a middle ground for hardcover at both the adult and at the young adult age range that allows us to have consistent pricing while still maintaining margin, because as you all know, some hardcovers are $32 and some are $27. So we've just kind of tried to even that out so that it makes sense for us, and we're not having to constantly update customers on hey, this is going to be more expensive this month, it's going to be less expensive the next month. And we found that works really well, and we've never had anybody come back and say, hey, you charged me $30, but the book says it's only $27.99. It's never been an issue in 5 years. So that's what's worked for us, because that also we do include as an incentive for signing up for subscriptions, we do include free shipping. So another way that we think about that is we're basically adding in a couple extra dollars to cover our own shipping and materials costs, because you have boxes, you have tissue paper, you have question sheets, you have meeting reminders, you have all of these other goodies that we send out. So that extra $3 to $4 pads for those, the cost of some of those materials. Each of our subscriptions are available as month to month or pay as you go. And then they are also available as gift or bulk subscriptions. We offer 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month. We sell a ton of these during the holiday season. They are some of our most popular gift items, specifically our personalized book boxes. That is one of our biggest holiday sales, because people come in wanting to shop for a person for books and they don't know how to do it. And a lot of times they'll come to us and ask for help, and we'll be able to say oh, they liked this, they might like this other thing. But it's a lot easier when we are able to say hey, how about you just prepay for them 3 books or 6 books. And each month they'll get a fun little surprise. They'll get to choose. You'll know that they'll be happy with it. And we're actually able to sell those. And then this last year, we printed little informational cards that said like, hey, here's how it works. Here's the QR code that you can scan to go directly online to purchase. And then we did like wrap a little tiny box with one of our tote bags and a couple bookmarks that they could like gift the person on, the holiday day. And so that way the person who was getting the gift knew what they were getting, and that would give us time to send out their first round of recommendations. That worked really well for us. All of our subscriptions are set to renew at the same time each month. The reason we do that is because flexibility and communication with subscription customers has been the key to keeping those customers. Subscription boxes are extremely high churn, which means you're gaining new customers and losing customers at a really high rate. That kind of evens out. Like our subscription numbers are pretty static throughout the year. We'll get a bump at Christmas, and then it'll slowly take her back to like a flat level. So we communicate all the time with folks. Our subscription boxes are set to renew on the auto renew. Yes, at the first of the month. We send out a reminder on the 27th of the month before. Always the 27th, except for leap years. So we always try to give 3 to 4 days for people that says like, hey, just so you know, this is our book club this next month. This is the pick. This is the publisher description. This is the staff recommendation. This is when it's going to ship. All of the information. This is when the meeting's going to be. You have 3 to 4 days to decide if you want to participate. You can skip directly. They can manage all of their subscription themselves via their own portal. That is another reason why we love using integrations through Shopify, is customers can log in and do all of that themselves. But it gives them plenty of time to say, hey, you are going to get charged for this thing. If you do not want it, you are able to skip at no charge. You are able to pause your subscription. And that means when people go on vacation, or when people get busy, or when school starts back and they have to run their kids to a bunch of different sports activities, we don't see people canceling. We see people pausing. And we would much rather somebody pause or somebody skip, and we lose out on 1 month or maybe 2 months of their of them as a customer than them cancel and us potentially lose them forever. So that flexibility and over communicating with them has been key. And that is another reason why everything's set. So even if you buy on the 20th of the month, your next box is going to go out on the 1st. And that's just so that we are able to easily, as a staff, know who we need to communicate when and make sure that everybody is up to date. We also make sure that we are offering our customers unique and exclusive experiences, specifically for our subscription customers. We used to do these wine and book pairing nights with a local winery. And if you were a book club, a subscription member who came, we would buy your first glass of wine for you for free. So it was just like those little things. They're very low impact on bottom line, but they are just kind of a nice thing, and that makes you feel like special. We make sure that they get first access to signed stock. We make sure that they get special discounts. We're going to we're coming up on 5 years, so we are going to send out like a gift to all of our subscription customers that celebrates like, hey, you've been with us for 5 years, and it's those little things. And then speaking of like the little things, the other thing that I do want to call out is like subscription boxes in the book industry are insane. I mean, I'm sure you all know Fairy Loot and Illumicrate and all of these crazy, huge followings. You don't have to overcomplicate those. Like when we first launched, we were like, do we need to have swag? Like, do we need to be like reaching out to artists and coming up with new bookmarks every month? And we did for the first like 4 or 5 months. We were always sending something extra, and we just realized that no one really cared. It didn't, when we stopped doing it, no one canceled, no one complained. And so we just sent out a box. It's just a book, and it's wrapped nicely, and it comes with information about the author, and it comes with questions for your reading. But beyond that, it's just a book. And so I think as people who are trying to keep up with all of these social media trends and all of these new special editions and sprayed edges, it can feel really daunting to feel like you have to have something extra for the subscription value to be worth it. But we have not found that to be the case, like, at all. Folks are just happy to support an indie in a way that is low impact on their day-to-day routines. They don't have to remember to come in store and buy something or pick something up. And yeah, it's worked really well for us. And I think I'm at time, but happy to answer any questions. And if anybody, like I said, if anyone needs help or is interested in talking more, like, please do reach out to me.
Thank you, Courtney. I, of course, have many questions, but I don't want to steal time from other folks. So if there's anybody else on the call that has questions, please chime in. But I will start. So you mentioned that the growth for subscription boxes, just like universally, is about 18%. Are you seeing a comparable growth in your subscription programs, or growth in your subscription programs that would indicate that new people are finding you somewhat consistently?
Yes, I don't think that we are seeing, those extreme sales numbers. The way that we're seeing growth is the locations in which people are subscribing. Like the new subscription customers that we are getting are people who are nowhere near Arkansas, who we have never met, we don't know. And so we are seeing, traction in that way. I think we're still a little like too young and a little too small scale, because at the end of the day, like, we're not shipping thousands of boxes a month. And so I don't know that we're able to measure growth in those same ways, but we are consistently getting new subscription customers to our subscription services across all 4 of them, from places and locations and ways that show consumer interest outside of just like our regulars who want to subscribe.
That's really cool. My other question is, if I love how you separate those sales out of your day-to-day sales, because it almost treats it as a separate business. Keeping that sort of framing around it, what is the time investment for that program?
Yeah, we've got it kind of down to a well-oiled machine at this point. So, I place a specific carton or multiple cartons order for our book clubs each month. Like, I know I have a Monday board that's like, hey, on the 15th of this month or of the month, you need to go place your book club order. We know that we need to have the staff member who picked the book write a shelf talker by this date. We know that we need to have them write questions by this date, and then that we need to send the questions to the printer by this other date. So it's like, it's a lot of recurring tasks, but we've gotten good at it, and we know on a calendar, and we have weekly meetings about like where we're at, that we're able to operate 2 to 3 months ahead typically. Like, we're currently working on October and November for book club. And granted, like, we're not doing, like I said, we're not doing any like special editions or anything like that. The companies that do those things have to work 6, 8, 12 months in advance. We're not quite there. But we are able to work comfortably enough that if things come up in our day-to-day, like we've got a book festival in 2 weeks, like, that's taking a lot of time away from other things. But because we're so far ahead, we've got that time, and it lowers the impact of those manual tasks.
It will probably have to be another lightning talk, but I'm really curious you mentioned Monday. I think you mean like the Monday.com.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to dig a little bit deeper, and I wonder if other folks would be interested in doing it too, digging a little bit deeper on that project management side of it, because I think we all live in this state of like, oh no, this thing is coming up, and I thought it was a week away, but it's tomorrow. And so keeping yourself organized so that you can stay on that 3-month forecasting kind of lifestyle would be ideal for all of us. And so I'm going to pick your brain about that later. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions for Courtney? And if not, I have one more.
Yeah.
So while not discussing what the cost of your subscription boxes are, I'm curious about how frequently over the 5 years you've had to reassess the cost of the subscription just with inflation and the cost of books going up. Have you had to revisit that, your standard of pricing?
Yeah. We've raised pricing a couple times, and that was something that really made me very nervous. And it ended up not being a big deal. Like, I just emailed customers and was like, "Hey, costs going up. Unfortunately, in order to maintain our services, we're gonna have to increase this price. You're now gonna see in 2 months or 3 months, your subscription's gonna be this much," and no one said anything about it. And it was fine. So we've done it a couple times. And I think we're at a part now where we're comfortable enough that we hopefully won't have to address that again, as long as things don't continue to increase.
Cool. We have a few more minutes, and if you have a few more minutes, my last question for you is, why do you think that people are still drawn to the subscription box setup, even though in-store shopping has resumed? Like, what do you think the appeal is? Is it the surprise, the present aspect of it? Is it not wanting to interact? Like, we've all become a little bit more introverted. What do you think the motivation is for customers to use that venue?
Yeah, I think for us, there's a couple things. It's ease. It means that you're always getting a new book each month, and you're not having to drive to a store and pick it up. And we also take a little bit of the abundance of choice out of things for our customers. A lot of our customers, they read one book a month, and the book that they read is the book that we do for book club. And they like that aspect of, like, they've come to trust us. They've come to trust our staff. They've come to enjoy our book club picks in the past. And so they know, regardless of what genre, they're going to get something that they enjoy, and they don't have to find that thing for themselves. I think there's a lot of anxiety for folks who are getting back into reading, or maybe not as vivacious of a reader, in like, there are hundreds of new books published each week. Which one do I choose? And so they are able to trust us and do that without having to worry about that. And I think that's another big selling point for us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you for listening to Book to the Bookstore Education Podcast, brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA website at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!